And I just want to know from y'all, were they bumping pocketbooks or what? Because what could have warranted the actions taken by Ruby Franke? I need to know.
Eyes on me, apply that. Get it, don't be timid when you in it, apply that. Love up on it, give along, need it. I don't want no trip, baby, spray like
My name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, and I am here to put you on, okay? Talk about A Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke, a Hulu 3-part docuseries that premiered last week. And y'all, I was somewhat familiarized with the story just on TikTok because I remember when the footage came out of the little boy, in the desert, damn near running to the neighbors to get assistance because he had been basically tied up and tangled up in the basement by his mother, but had no clue about who this person was. And so we'll get into it, kind of the ins and the outs. Again, I am not an expert or an aficionado on this case. I just wanted to get on and talk about it because I feel like it's important, and we will be back later this week to discuss it in a live discussion. So whenever I come across true crime stories or documentaries where it relates to kids, it makes me so sad because not only was she a mother, but she was a mother to 6 children. Not only was she a mother to 6 children, but she started out in the early days of family vlogging, right? So I guess there was this craze in the 2010s, mid 2010s, where a lot of people got on the internet and decided that they wanted to make their family their content. And whichever way you feel about that, whether you condone it or not, I think there is a way to do most things, right? I think it becomes dangerous when your kids become your employees, which is what we saw eventually with Ruby Franke and her family. But I think there's a delicate way, you know what I'm saying, to do that. So anyway, as it opens up the documentary, we're really getting the background. The first episode is all about Ruby Franke, a Mormon woman who got married to her husband, who apparently was in a long list of suitors, honey. The fellas was after Ruby for whatever reason. They were lined up. She had made a list, honey, a pros and cons list, everything she wanted. She had a grid and a chart with the men's names written on top and what qualities they possessed. Well, her future husband, which she didn't know at the time, Kevin, went into her room, found that, and said he was going to be everything on her list, everything that she needed or wanted him to be. He was going to be that for her because he loved Ruby Franke that bad. He loved her down bad, and he was going to do whatever to get her. I'm going to get her. And that's what he decided to do. And so we hear about their relationship. And I guess during this time, pursuing his PhD or has already obtained his PhD, he says he's a fully solidified nerd. And that's just him. He ain't have no desire to be on anybody's camera at all. And so Ruby Franke says that she decides that it's her mission to show their LDS way of life and how you can be a great parent and how you can have a loving family. And so she starts this vlog channel called 8 Passengers. And this became the family vlog. And I believe the first video that they ever did was a video of a gender reveal of, I guess, the youngest baby at the time. So ultimately, they had 6 children, and of course, them being the parents. And she decided she was going to share the innermost workings of their lives, whether it was a death in the family, they were going to be there, whether it was a birth, whether it was discipline, whether it was whatever it was, she was going to take you into this journey with her. And so we find very quickly Ruby Franke's true nature revealed, because one thing I want to get to is who really was Ruby Franke. And I'm of the mindset that Jody didn't make Ruby Franke into the person that she was, Jody Hildebrandt. I think she just drew out of Ruby what was already there. There are very noticeable aspects and characteristics of Ruby as you're watching this first part of the docuseries that really stood out to me in terms of the kids have to perform no matter what, whether they're feeling it, whether they're not, they're going to be on, and she is going to monopolize on the kids that they want to see. And basically, from what I saw in the first episode, and according to their oldest son, Chad, it was him. because when he was on, that's when she got all the views. And so it disproportionately affected him. And I think she said she gave them $10 a video. They go from getting very few views. And if you're in the YouTube space, you already know what that's like, to making no money, to the first paycheck, I think was 80 some dollars. And the husband said that got him right there. And he was locked and loaded ever since he found out she could make money on here, and up until they're making, I guess, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on YouTube. And so as that's going, the oldest son, Chad, gets very, I guess, turned off by the whole thing because he's got to be on, he's got to perform because, again, he's going to bring the traffic, right? All of the videos that he's in. And so he starts acting out and having behavioral issues. So at this moment, neither of them, neither Kevin, the father, or Ruby say, hey, this is a lot for you, son. Let's back up off of this. No, you're going to do what we say. If not, we're going to need to inflict punishment on you that's going to make you change your behavior, right? And so she decides one day that she's big and bad and she's going to share her disciplinary stuff online. So I believe I watched another documentary that went a little bit more in depth. And we find out that at this time, or recently before the whole Chad incident comes out on the channel, that her 6-year-old had forgotten to pack her lunch. And so the teacher calls and says, Ruby, your daughter forgot her lunch. Can you bring her something? No, I won't. It's her responsibility to pack her lunch or make sure she has money. And she didn't, so she'll just have to be hungry. And so immediately the audience, right, for these family vlog channels, I'm judging you. And when you decide to put your parenting on the main stage, that's what you get, right? And so she goes through that situation. Then Chad gets there and she's talking about her disciplinary actions and how I don't give anything back within 6 months. Have I ever given you back anything in 6 months, Chad? And he says, no, you didn't even give me my bed back. Hold on, what? Yeah, I've been sleeping on a beanbag in the basement for all of this time or wherever. I don't know which room it was. And so then we get the outcry, the backlash from everybody because what are you doing? What kind of mother are you? What are you doing? They're losing brand deals. They're losing monetization. The views have plummeted and she's got to recenter, regroup. Never once does she say, even at the behest of an attorney, just go and apologize. I'll never apologize. Again, Ruby was always this way. Nothing can make me doubt it. There was a mean streak in her. There was really a nastiness as it related to her kids. You see it in the interactions with them. Just very, and so there's all this backlash. She's losing brand deals and Chad is acting out. And so they threaten him with wilderness camp, I guess at the request of this new therapist that they find, Jody Hildebrand. Jody Hildebrand is doing basically life coaching, I guess is what I want to call it. This program, Connections. Ruby aligns herself with Jody because apparently Jody's been so instrumental in getting Chad back together. She's meeting with Chad weekly and basically telling him that he's wrong, he's bad, he's a man, he's got lust because he does certain things and watches certain things. He's problematic. And it's all his fault, and that's sin in the family, all this. Over time, we see Jody and Ruby's relationship take a turn. Now, I think they're bumping pocketbooks. I think they were in the jungle and I think they were in denial about it because Jody Hildebrand was a woman hater by all accounts. It was always the men's fault. It was always their fault. The oldest daughter, Sherry, we meet in this documentary as well, and she's sharing her experiences. Now she is the oldest in the household, and so she sees through the foolishness and starts to question things and basically gets put out by her mom. Ruby says, if you have anything bad to say about Jody, you've got something to hide and you don't belong here. I think she goes away to college anyway. They move Jody into the house and take Sherry's room, which again is crazy as hell. And Sherry to this day calls them people, Kevin and Ruby. And that's the other statement I want to make. Kevin is not innocent in this. I don't know where they get these weak-willed, mealy-mouthed men from, but it's really disturbing. The fact that you let this woman and an external factor come in and abuse your children, better yet, make you leave your home so that you can't even know what's happening with your children is diabolical. And you must do time as well because there is no excuse as the leader of the household. And I know that they're from a traditional value set, a traditional household and role type situation. If you were really the leader of your household, how could you let this happen? How could you let this happen on your watch? I'm disappointed. And I don't have any empathy for him in that because even at the end of this doc, you're going to see him talk about how much he misses her and doubling down on the fact that it was Jody and it wasn't Jody. It was your wife. And so ultimately, Sherry gets kicked out, the oldest daughter. Chad, the oldest son, eventually gets kicked out because they're bringing demons in the house. And we have to witness Jody Hildebrandt's fake demon possession. And it might not even be fake, honestly. She might be demonized, but this display that she showed was not authentic, y'all. It was not. And so now Ruby's taken to sleeping in the room with her because she's the only one who can quiet these demons, apparently. And now we're looking for sin all in the house. So we find out that Kevin, he's a sinner. He's got to get out. Jody turns on him. Jody turns on everybody until basically it's just the two of them, Ruby, Jody, and the younger children. Now they maintain their household in the house that they bought with the YouTube funds, honey. Now how they're paying these bills present day, I don't know. I guess Jody was paying them bills, or maybe Kevin was sending his check home from his apartment across town. But we find out that Jody has an elite home, honey, out in the desert, beautiful. And that's where the torture chambers are. So we find out that she and Jody have cut themselves off from the world. It's just them. Kevin hasn't seen or talked to his kids or them in a year. This is his penance. This is his punishment. Until one day, a little 12-year-old boy whose skin and bones escapes from Jody's home, goes and knocks on the neighbor's door and says, "Can you do me two favors? Well, better yet, just one. Can you just get me to the police station?" We find out in the second documentary that he thought he had done something wrong, so he was turning himself in, not knowing that him escaping and going to get help is the thing that actually would save his life. And so we discovered that not only were they keeping the 12-year-old boy in Jody's basement, but they were strapping him down, trigger warning ahead for child. They were strapping him down. They were rubbing cayenne honey paste into his open wounds, right? Because they were taping him, duct taping him, saran wrapping him. They were making him stand outside with weights in the middle of the desert sun for hours. They had shaved the little girl's head to a point where she's catatonic. They're not feeding them. We also find Ruby's diaries that basically says, I won't have a demon. I won't suffer a demon. And before I let a demon take over my child, I'll take out the child. That's what she said, hung by her own words. And so the police bust down the door, and I wanted them to bust down Jody's door, but Jody says, "I have my lawyer on the phone." We later see Ruby and she calls Kevin. They have the kids, make sure you go. I don't know what, they don't need to be there, doubling down like she's this victim in it all. When we finally meet Ruby and the police meet her, she's virtually damn catatonic herself. She won't talk. She won't nod. Now, when y'all are bumping pocketbooks and torturing them kids, I bet you talk. I bet you talk then, right? And so anyway, long story short, she gets arrested. Jody gets arrested. And I think they're both charged with 4 or 6 counts of child abuse each, right? And they go to trial. Kevin, again, my wife wouldn't do that. What's happened with my kids? Even when the police are giving him the account, it's like his utter disbelief and desire to still be with his wife and seek his wife's approval. It was disturbing as hell. They get on trial and they both plead guilty and both get a sentence of 40 to 30 years, meaning they could get out in as early as 4 years. This happened in 2023. So they could be out 2027, which is sick. Literally showing her words that she would unalive her own children, seeing these babies. And when I tell you, emaciated isn't even really the full word. I don't know how he was even holding on, this poor baby. To have the wherewithal and gumption to get out, to escape, to go to a neighbor, to plead for help. Just, y'all, this is one of the most heartbreaking stories to this day. The other 2 girls were found, and of course, they go to regular school. She had taken the younger 2 out of school, clearly so that she could abuse them because they were the demonized one, while she's clearly having an affair with this lady out here. And again, was it to assuage her own guilt for running out on her husband and having this adulterous affair? I don't know. And this is alleged because I don't know that they were bumping pocketbooks, but that's what it gives. You guys drop it in the comments. Let me know. Remember, we will be back on Wednesday night to talk the Ruby Franke documentary and all things the Franke family, because it deserves a conversation. Let me know what you thought of this doc. Let's talk about it. And please be sure to comment and subscribe. And I will see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.